Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Real Reds Talk, an authentic football fan channel made in Manchester. The godfather of Eccles has returned once again, despite his busy schedule. Jay, it's been a hot minute.
I was about to say it's Benedict Wong on this podcast. That's amazing.
You're just above him now, just above.
Oh,
Benedict.
that really?
Yeah,
I mean, leapfrogging someone from the MCU can't get much better than that. Do you know what? It's good to chat to you, bro. It's been a little while, not been on with you guys. So yeah, I'm glad to see you going strength to strength. I watched your chat with Carl Anker
a
few weeks ago. When was it? When was that?
I think a couple of weeks ago, I want to say.
I felt like a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So me get my dates wrong. Love Carl. Great show with him, and you guys absolutely smashing it. You've gone from strength to strength, and present company accepted. You've the caliber of guests you have on as well has been really top tier, and it's good to chat to the M30 massive again as well.
Absolutely. Do you know what I said to Carl after we finished the thing? I was like, do you know, sometimes when you sit in a room with someone and they're that smart, you almost feel like a bit of a donkey. I said that to him after. I was like, when he was going into depth about certain things, I was like, I felt like my brain was like this small when he was going really in depth on like, the kind of the analytics and stuff. I thought it was probably one of the best guests we've had, to be fair.
It's funny, it's weird that you've never said that when you've done a podcast with me.
I knew, do you know what? I had a feeling
you said actually, I think you've said the opposite. I think you've said after doing a podcast with me, you think you're some sort of genius.
Yeah, everyone knows that's not the truth. Everyone knows that's not the truth. But yeah, look, the reason why we have these opportunities is because of people like yourself, as you know. So, really appreciative of that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this discussion, man. So,
yeah, man. Good stuff.
What I wanted to do was a review of Ineos, because let's face it, Jay, at the minute, it's not great, is it? There's a lot of negativity. You've had the redundancies, cost cutting, the nightmare situation with Ten Hag, Ashworth compensation, ticket prices, yada, 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 all this kind of stuff. Now, when Ineos first took over, the minority stake, their kind of statement was, we have three words that we use in Ineos, which encapsulates us. And it was grit, rigor, and humor. They were the three words that they used, right?
It was so cringe, that wasn't it? Like grit, rigor, and humor. The humor one felt very David Brent. Like, we love to laugh. We like to have a good laugh.
Yeah.
That's just an example of some of the laughs we have around here. Like grit, rigor, and humor. No, like I get the grit, the determination, the rigor, and all that, but the humor bit just sounds a little bit silly, to be honest with you. So yeah, they love a little buzzword, don't they? Do like Mission 21 or whatever it is, or Project 150, and it feels very much like the sort of modern, almost American influence on manager speak. So yeah, when I saw that, I didn't really take much notice of it, to be honest with you.
It does feel, doesn't it, at the minute that Ineos have kind of they've entered with a few empty promises, I would say.
Yeah.
I think the track record at the minute's kind of been marked a little bit by inconsistencies, poor communication, and a couple of questionable priorities. As someone who covers United extensively and has obviously seen us at the absolute pinnacle in the 90s of football, how does it make you feel now, kind of looking where we're at? Because it's the total opposite, isn't it?
It's difficult, right? Because a lot of the decisions Ineos have made haven't sat well with me. I think it's safe to say, like redundancies, I'm not a fan of that, to be honest with you. And I know some people that work at Manchester United, and it's sad to see people losing their jobs. And I think a lot of people who work for United, they don't work for United because United are the best paid job. They work for United because they love Manchester United. Obviously, they're getting paid to do it, but it's like, it's one of the sort of the carrots used to attract people that work at United is the fact that you're working for a club that you support. So you're seeing people losing their jobs isn't great. Seeing some of the decisions when it comes to things like Christmas bonuses going from £100 to a £40, going from £100 in cash to a £40 Marks and Spencer's voucher, the free travel for staff to the cup final being cut. You think, okay, some of these decisions I don't really like. Some of them I don't even see if they're making that much savings on them. Like how much money you're saving from stopping free travel, a few grand. Is that going to make much of a difference? Then there's other ones where you go, the Sir Alex Ferguson losing his ambassadorial role or changing his role. Again, I can understand it, and you might look at it and go, that's a few million quid saved. It's just the optics of it isn't great, and the way they announced it wasn't great. I think the story was leaked, and then it came out. I think they could have got ahead of that a little bit better. The Dan Ashworth one was a big sort of misstep. Now, you may give them credit, as many people have done, for realizing they made a mistake and then rectifying it rather than just sticking with it. But the very fact that we took months to get Dan Ashworth, paid him millions of pounds in compensation, got him, then sacked him after a couple of months, and then had to pay him a payoff isn't great. You know, even if you could give them credit for acting swiftly when they realised it was going wrong, the fact that they didn't do the due diligence in the first place to know whether this was the right fit doesn't fill me with too much, you know, sort of praise for them. So there's all these different things going on, many of which look like people or look like an organisation that is sort of stumbling around a little bit, making certain decisions that are a bit like, really? Making some decisions that you may question or you might not sit right with you, but you may understand. I will say one thing not in Ineos's defence, but I think that one argument that they could make if they were here would be, look, this is moving towards the greater good. These decisions we make now, you know, United as a club will benefit from them eventually. It's just at the minute, some of them seem like missteps. Some of them seem almost pointless and counterproductive. And the PR around all of them isn't great. So it has been a bit of a testing time. And I think the one saving grace will be, or could be, if this time next year or, you know, in a couple of years, Manchester United are flying high, then Ineos can say, look, when we came in 2004, 2005, 2024, sorry, 2025, 20 years out of the date there. Yeah, we made these tough decisions and now we're reaping the benefits to that. But at the minute, it doesn't feel like those benefits are anywhere on the horizon.
Yeah, I kind of described it as like a colonic irrigation. This is the period where all the shit's coming out at the minute, and it's kind of, we've got to get through it. They have to make some tough decisions. I mean, I'm even seeing some stuff around, you know, screw costs and things. That's how fine.
Have you seen the article in the Telegraph today? I think it was Ducker.
Yeah.
And it was like you're saying screw costs, and like the portions in the canteen have been lowered, and the stationary orders are getting sent back. You're not having sellotape. I mean, Jesus, man. Is it really that bad?
Yeah.
And also, the counter argument to all of this is, how much money have we wasted on wages for players that aren't even playing for us? Now, Ineos could argue, well, we didn't sign these players. Yeah. We're having to deal with that. But it looks a bit ridiculous when you say we can't afford sellotape, but we can afford to pay, I don't know, players that don't even play for us at the minute, 300k a week or whatever. It seems insane and embarrassing.
The argument I make for the players, though, is it's one of those, it's going to cost you a lot of money to terminate the contract, in it, effectively. So to turn around and say, right, Anthony, we want to let you go. You run 200 grand a week, but you've got 3 years left in your contract. How much money is that going to cost him? That's the one thing I'll throw out there. So it's difficult.
I do hear that. And I do hear that. Yeah, and I do hear that they, since Ineos have come in, I don't think they've, unless I'm wrong, by all means, people can correct me in the comments or whatever, but it does feel like most of these big transfers and big wages were done before Ineos arrived.
Yeah.
So they're having to sort of deal with them rather than those are the ones that signed them. Yeah, it's a mess. It's all of it seems just a mess. And when you throw in PSR into the mix and the fact that, you know, we've just had these financial reports about the £1 billion worth of debt and the 40 million quid wasted on sacking Ten Hag, or, you know, on the whole Ten Hag episode, plus the Ashworth thing, plus other stuff as well. It doesn't make great reading.
What does your gut tell you in a minute, Jay? Do you think they'll get it right in the long run? Like, forget all, like, you know, whatever other thoughts it is internally. Do you think they'll get it right?
I don't know if it's probably more hope than expectation.
Yeah.
I think that, look, Ineos are going through a bit of a time of it, aren't they, themselves, where people are saying that they're not making the money they were. I don't know if that's generally with petrochemicals or whatever on a global scale, but for whatever reason, Ineos aren't quite the success story now that they were a few years ago or whatever. But I'd like to think that there's enough of a plan in there, which means we can be better than we were under the Glazers. When I say under the Glazers, the Glazers are still here, but the Glazers were making those decisions, weren't they? Now it feels like Ineos are making those decisions. Yeah. You feel like there must be a little bit more of a plan. You look at someone like Omar Barada coming in, Jason Wilcox coming in. That feels a little bit more grown up than it did. It has done under the Glazers, when it was people like Ed Woodward or Richard Arnold, who didn't really have any footballing pedigree. But, you know, I feel at the minute it's probably 50-50 with me. Like, you know, if you said to me genuinely, do I think in 3 or 4 years' time Manchester United are going to be winning titles or challenging for titles?
Yeah.
The honest answer, Nick, is I don't know. I don't know.
It's quite bold. Do you think that the project to 2028 to say you're going to win the league, considering where we're at the moment, that's quite strong?
I feel like that was a number that almost felt like a focus group number. Like, what's the best number to come out with? Because if we say 2026, people say you're deluded. We ain't going to win a title the season after we finish 15th or wherever. If you say 2035, people are going, we ain't waiting 10 years to win a title. That's stupid. But if you say a few years, people go, okay, yeah, that could,
give
that
them
could
something.
happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that is a realistic target or whether that is something that they feel sounds good.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's not too far away, but it is far away enough for people to believe it could happen. I don't know. I mean, everything at the minute feels a little bit unknown. We don't know what Ineos are going to do. We don't know if they're going to have success at Manchester United. It feels like they should and they could, but you don't know for a fact because it's difficult to have that sort of that experience or that history with them to say, well, look, this is what they've done where they have smashed it. Because you look at Nice, that's been very up and down, probably more down than up.
Yeah.
You look at what they did with cycling. There's some positives there, but again, was that more of them taking over a successful team rather than building one from scratch? I don't know how much you can look into what Ineos have done in the past when it comes to football or to sport and go, this is guaranteed to be a success. I don't think it is. You just, again, like it feels a little bit more like hope rather than expectation. And I'm curious. Obviously, I'm curious. I'm a Manchester United fan. I'm curious and almost a little bit anxious to see where this is all going to head.
Yeah, and that anxiety stems also from the present as well. Obviously, the results at the minute. I mean, it's I thought it couldn't get any worse than how it was under Ten Hag, and everyone's like, it can. It can always get worse.
Well, it's. I think under Ten Hag we were 13th. Now we're 15th.
Yeah, some of the losses as well have just been fucking horrendous, haven't they?
Yeah, especially at Old Trafford in the league. I mean, yeah, it's been shocking to lose so many games at home against teams that we should be beating. Like, you look at even teams like Newcastle, you should beat Newcastle, Bournemouth, Brighton.
What's been the worst
Palace.
For you? Do you think that you've witnessed this season?
This is going to sound really weird because it was a win, but the Southampton game rattled me. It really rattled me because we were playing a team at the time who were on course to be the worst ever Premier League team. Yeah. You have to acknowledge that. You have to let that sink in. Yeah. And they played us off the park for about an hour. For about an hour, they looked like, they looked like they were, prime Real Madrid. And I was like, what is going on here? And it was only like the last sort of 20, 30 minutes, whatever it was, where Ahmad basically just said, right, enough of this. Let's get a win. That we sorted ourselves out. But that really sort of bothered me because I was like, Jesus wept. This is a team that ain't going to be in the Premier League next season. And probably, the way they've been playing, I think they might have struggled to be in the promotion chase in the championship. And they just absolutely dominate the game for a good hour. So embarrassing, so frustrating. That was one that really got to me. And I know we got a win and I could have picked a loss. There's enough losses we've had this season. But that was a game where I was like, what is going on here at Manchester United at the minute? This is just shambolic.
It seems like there's pressure from all angles at the minute. Whether it's Ineos, whether it's on the pitch, like we can't seem to get away from it. But I mean, I was saying before how certain people say it can't get worse, but I feel like there's a little bit of maybe snobbery around relegation because when we say it, people go, "Oh no, United can't get relegated. There's no chance they can get relegated." And people you may know or yourself may have said that as well. But if you look at our fixtures coming up, Jay, we play Ipswich, we play Everton, a few more teams that are all around us at the minute. I mean, I think the gap's 9 points to 17th or something, 12 points, somewhere around there. Is it in the back of your mind at all? Have you ever thought maybe it could happen?
Not really. I think that the cushion just feels like it's probably too big. I think there's a chance that Manchester United could finish 16th. I think that could happen. I think West Ham could leapfrog us and we could end up, I think, is it Wolves and Southampton and Leicester and Ipswich?
Yes.
There's a bit of distance there. There's a bit of, I don't know if the distance is too big. I mean, it's possible. Obviously, United have been relegated before. What was it? 5 years after we won the European Cup, we were relegated in 73 or 74, sorry, for 6 years. So, I mean, yes, it's possible. I don't think it'll happen. But I think even if United, don't get relegated, which I don't think will, I don't see us moving far up the table. I think if United finish, let's say, for example, we move one place up, we finish 14th, that's terrible. And I never thought I'd be sat here talking about Manchester United finishing 14th. Last season was awful in the league, and we finished 8th. And now this season, we're looking at finishing, 5 or 6 places lower than that. I mean, it's absolutely mind blowing. It really is. And also, has a club the size of Manchester United, with the resources that Manchester United have had and spent the money that Manchester United have spent, ever been involved in a relegation conversation even? Because you can look at the teams that have been relegated, and we've had big teams that have gone down, but none of the size of Manchester United in the Premier League era anyway. It's just not happened, has it?
I'm trying to think, like, what's the biggest team that's gone down? Like maybe a bit of a surprise, but there's been non-standout ones.
Even when the likes of City and Chelsea were getting relegated, they weren't the size they are now. They certainly didn't have the resources they've got now, I should say. I mean, Everton are probably the biggest club that have flirted with relegation, but they've always managed to stay up. And then you've got other big teams that are, relatively big. Villa's a big team, big club, I should say, big club, but it's not the size of Manchester United. I think there's only a few teams that are even remotely similar in stature to Manchester United. You're talking clubs like Liverpool and maybe an Arsenal or something like that, and they've never, even in their darkest days in the Premier League era, looked like getting relegated. So it's it's almost unthinkable that United are in this position. It really is.
Yeah, it does. It baffles you, innit? When you watch us play at the moment, you look at it and you're like, such the mixed bag of players on the pitch. Don't really understand what they're doing. You don't know what's going on. There's so many question marks around so many players and the tactics again and all these kind of things. And I look at how we played under Ten Hag, and I was like, I almost feel like he was creating chaos for the sake of to get goals. Do you know what I mean? Because when we were struggling, you'll remember yourself, there was a period in the winter under Ten Hag where we hadn't scored a goal for like 5 or 6 games, I think it was. It was like the forwards weren't passing to each other. It was a nightmare. And this is when we started playing this really open football where Brentford were having 30 shots a game. And these teams were battering us. So I look at Ten Hag now, I was like, was the method to the madness? I don't know. I don't know what you think.
I mean, listen, Ten Hag got some things right. He won trophies. You can't ignore that. The first season we finished third, and the first season as well, he turned Old Trafford into a bit of a fortress after the first few weeks, and we won some big games there. But some of the football and some of the results of the Ten Hag was drastic.
Yeah,
it really was. You look at what happened at Anfield, the 7-0. I mean, I know you might go, well, XG, actually, Liverpool's XG was higher.
That's XG is not even in my head when I'm
we got battered, man. You got battered to a degree that shouldn't be happening. United should not be losing a football match 7-0 to anyone, least of all to the Scousers. There was the horrendous record away from home in general, where I think we didn't beat anyone in the top sort of 8 or 9 places. I know people it's very specific. It's like you're looking for a stat that can make it look worse or as bad as possible, but it's still a bad stat to go in. I think that win at the Etihad was the first time we'd beaten a team in like 18 months away from Old Trafford who were in the top 8 or whatever, which is just unbelievable. And then some of the other results. I mean, this season we've kind of replicated them, losing 3-0 at home to Bournemouth, losing at home to Brighton. We had that under Ten Hag. We've had it under Amorim as well. But I just feel with Ten Hag, you could see not just the players had lost belief in what he was trying to do, but it looked like he'd lost a bit of belief. And for me, the Spurs game felt like a watershed moment. Yes, Bruno's red card wasn't a red card, but even before that, we'd been poor. And he looks at that at the end of that game like a man who he just looked like someone who lost confidence. Yeah, and I think if you're a manager and you look like that, that must transfer through to the players. And it was a shame because there was a spell under Ten Hag when I was really enjoying it, but it seemed like a distant memory. And obviously, some of the best times we've had, or 2 of the best results in games we've had post-Fergie have been the 4-3 against Liverpool and the FA Cup final win over City. And they both came under Eric Ten Hag, so he's got to get credit for that. But ultimately, he looked like he'd run out of ideas, or certainly the players had stopped believing in him.
Well, another manager who's been at the club, Ralph Rangnick, called it open heart surgery, didn't he? And this feels like certainly the start of it. What's heading into this summer now? What's for you personally, what should be the absolute priorities, if there's a couple maybe on your mind?
Well, I feel like since Ralph Ragnick said that, we've almost had that surgery. We've had,
Not a back on the table.
yeah. And the operation was a failure. We've got to have another one.
Yeah.
Because we've brought in about 15 players or 12 players since he left and sold about the same amount. So in terms of the squad, you've had a huge overhaul since Ralph Ragnick was here, and a lot of the players that were playing regularly under him or were part of his team are no longer at the club. Now, I know it's more than just the team. There's the coaches, there's the people above the coaches. But again, it's the coaching staff has been completely overhauled. We're on our third manager since he left. So there's been a lot of changes. I just feel like the changes haven't necessarily been positive ones. Now, going back to your question, who do we need to prioritise, or what areas do we need to strengthen? I mean, I honestly think you could make a case for there are 5 or 6 positions we need to strengthen in.
Absolutely.
Even maybe the goalkeeper.
I agree.
The jury's out on Onana for me. I said he needed a big season this season, and he ain't having one.
But it felt like he started, didn't it? If he started getting, and then it was like, nope, back to the same mistakes again. And I can't trust him.
I'm 50-50 on whether he's going to end up staying at Manchester United in long term, because he's been a bit erratic this season. So, you're looking, is that an area? Amarin didn't buy him. I might be looking at him thinking I can't really rely on him. You could probably do a centre-back, especially if you're going to play 3 centre-backs, and the likes of Victor Lindelof, Johnny Evans, probably going to move on.
Yep.
Luke Shaw as well, who can play left centre-back, is almost just useless to you because of his injuries. So you probably need a centre-back. You need another wing-back. There's talk of us getting in Giovanni Kenda. That would make sense to me. You probably need another midfielder. Casemiro, despite the fact he says he wants to stay, you saw it at Spurs. He's not been the same player for about 18 months, and he's not going to get better. We're not going to see the best version of Casemiro as he gets into his mid-30s. So probably another midfielder, another number 10, because there's issues there. You've got Garnacho, who in theory I think should be able to play in that role, because a lot of his,
feels like he's adapting.
Yeah, when you look at some of the goals he scored, some of the performances he's put in, it's around the area, the left-hand side of just off the striker, but it's not quite happening for him. You've got Ahmad, who has done well in that role, but he's injured. Mason Mount looks like he'd be someone who could play in that role, but he's injured as well, and he's been injured almost ever since he got here. So I think you probably need a number 10, and you 100% need a striker.
Yeah,
you need a goal scorer. Yeah, like if you've only got 50 million quid to spend, you should spend all 50 million quid on a striker. You have to bring in a striker, because Xerxes not an out-and-out striker, is he? And Højlund, who had a decent first season, I mean, he's fell off a bit of a cliff.
He's looks,
yeah, Spurs was a better game for him, and it still was far from perfect.
Think Xerxes helped with that? I think opening up
maybe he did. I mean, Højlund at least got a couple of shots off, but he struggled this season. So I feel like, I've gone a roundabout way of saying it. If you had to prioritise one or two, the priority for me would probably be a striker and a number 10, but you also need a wing back as well. So yeah, you've got off. I think if you bring in fewer than 3 players, you're in all sorts of trouble, and even that's not enough.
So many priorities. Ironic being from Manchester that when it rains, it certainly pours. I mean, it's going to be fascinating this summer to see what they're going to do. I want to switch gears slightly, and I promise you we'll end on a positive. But I wanted to ask you, top 3 worst moments post-Fergie.
Great shout. Good question. Anfield, obviously the 7-0.
That number 1?
I'd put the 5-0 against Liverpool at home as the number 1.
Okay.
Because I was there, which makes it worse. And it was at home, and it was just horrible, toothless. And we went into that game thinking we could win it. I mean, you should always go into a game thinking you could beat Liverpool, but the way we lost was just horrible, horrible. So many bad performances that day, and we didn't even put up a fight as well. You just want someone to go around and start smashing people, like Roy Keane said. There was none of that.
Say that,
yeah.
Smashing so I'd say somebody.
I'd say the 5-0, the FA Cup loss to City, the final loss. And even, I'm tempted to say 7-0, but I don't want to say 2 Liverpool results. I'll go with the Villarreal Europa League final.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a massive missed opportunity. That, like, we should have won that game. We could have won it, and I think maybe that gives us a little bit of a different feeling towards Ollie, and maybe he has a better spell in his second season, or he buys himself his next season. Sorry, buys himself a bit more time. I don't know, but
be interesting to go for that portal, wouldn't it, to see what would have happened.
Yeah,
and
and it was there for the taking. Losing 11-10 on penalties was just ludicrous.
Shocking. Yeah. I'd throw the Super League in there as well, just to think. I thought that whole
good point
debacle at the time, Jesus Christ.
It was, but I actually, dare I say, quite enjoyed that protest.
Yeah. We was all there. Was you there with Liverpool? I mean, I was allegedly on the pitch, but that it was like a really crazy kind of scenario at the time.
Yeah, I was there, and you wish you didn't have to protest against your owners, but we did.
Had to be done.
And I think United deserve credit for that, United fans. Other fans were moaning about the Super League and this, that, and the other, and some of them protested. We protested in a way that forced people to really take notice. So yeah, I think that obviously with us it was a bit different because it wasn't just about the Super League. It was about what at the time I think was 17 years of Glazer ownership, which is now 20, of course. But yeah, I think that United fans did themselves proud.
Yeah, man, in the past 10 years have been just fucking crazy. When you really think about it, because I was going through moments before, I was like, it's mad supporting this club. It's an absolute roller coaster. Really, really is. Right, let's end on quick fires then to lighten the mood, because it has been, I feel like a lot of the talk's been...
It's just where we're at, I get it.
Negative, but yeah, go on. It's the reality of the situation in it, I suppose. So we'll lighten the mood. We'll finish on a positive. 5 quick fires. The best goal you've seen in a Man United shirt?
This is a good question. The best
that you've actually seen, so you witnessed.
I've seen a lot of obviously great goals over the years. There's one that stands out for me. There's a few that stand out for me. I don't know if it's technically the best, but it's one that's always been like my favourite. And it was Mark Hughes against Liverpool in the Rumbelows Cup when I was a kid. He hit it from about 25 yards out. Just an absolute rocket. And that always stands out for me as one of the best goals I've seen. So yeah, I think it was 1990. I think I put that up there, but there's loads to choose from. Obviously, it was spoiled. I mean, Rooney against Newcastle, it was a great one.
That goal, the volley.
Loved it. Yeah, the volley.
Loved it.
I love a good smash.
Yeah.
You know, like the goals, like players dancing through defenders. I'm going to
start the show with that. That's going to be the opening clip.
I love a good smash. You used to retired. But players dancing through defenders is all well and good, and we've seen some fantastic goals in that respect. But sticking your foot through the ball and absolutely ripping that net, love all that. So yeah, I'd probably say Sparky against the Scousers.
Best moment as a fan?
Really good question. Do you know what? There's loads of moments to choose from. There's certain things that stick out in my memory. I think Steve Bruce's 2 goals against Sheffield Wednesday, being there for that, and you felt like this is it. You felt we're gonna do this. But I was
showing your age now, Jay.
I was 13 at the time. That was up there. All the title wins basically have felt special, but especially the ones that started making us either equal Liverpool or beat Liverpool. The final title race, getting the title back off City was a big one. I've seen us win 2 Champions Leagues, of course. So one of my no, I wasn't in Moscow. You know what? I've not seen us. I've not been at a Champions League win, which is a Champions League game final, which is annoying. I was in. I'd say one game I was at. It's not the same. I went down to Wembley in 2011, but without that ticket, it just weren't happening. Stockholm was a moment because of what had happened in Manchester, and it felt like the emotions of it all and being there and everything else.
Yeah,
that was a moment. But I am going to say this, right, and this might sound ridiculous, but I'm going to put that FA Cup final win over City up there.
Have to
see Kobbie Mainoo, Garnacho and Kobbie Mainoo get the goals. When Kobbie Mainoo scored, I got emotional. I did. It felt like wow. Like I'm watching something special here. And the difference with that, with all the other wins in the title wins we'd had and everything else, there's always an element of you fancy United. I fancy United to beat Bayern Munich in 99, or you fancy United to beat Chelsea in 08. You fancy United to win the title in 2013, 1994, 1996, 97, 99, all the rest of it. Going into that game, we were the underdogs. And the memory of the previous FA Cup final was still sort of fresh in my mind. No one gave us much of a chance. Looked like, everyone thought we looked like we were gonna lose, and it could be not just a loss, we could get hammered. And to play the way we did, and to get that win, and to see academy graduates scoring the goals, and Kobe Mainoo, who I absolutely adore, getting that second goal as well. It was just fantastic, man. It was up there. It was up there with any memory I've got as a United fan. I'll be honest with you. No one can tell you how you feel, and I felt amazing on that one. So yeah, I think that's one of my best moments.
Fairy tale stuff, wasn't it? It was literally for a lad from Manchester to score a winning goal who's been a part of the academy. I mean, it literally doesn't get any better than that. Against the team who was so good at the time, we were so shit. Even this season, we've been so bad this season. But then the Arsenal game where we absolutely scrap for everything and get through it, and the City game when we win, we go to Anfield and play.
Weird, isn't it?
You're like, what the fuck? What is this?
The three toughest games you can have in England are City away, Liverpool away, and Arsenal away. And we've won two of them and been a bit unlucky not to win the other one. Strange, and yet we're getting played off the park by the likes of Southampton and Bournemouth and Palace. I know we won't beat Southampton, but we got played off the park for a good hour. And just struggling against mid-table or lower mid-table opposition. Just baffling, really. Just Manchester United doesn't make any sense.
3 words to describe Man United at the moment.
Good question. I'd just say poor.
Tapping
in more ways than one, financially and
and
in terms of quality, frustrating, and I'm going to be honest with you, depressing.
Yeah. That's the first one.
It feels depressing being a United fan at the minute. And even in our banter era, we've had times post-Fergie where people have been like, this is shit or whatever, and we finished third. Or, we finished second or albeit a distant second, but, or we've got to a cup final or we've won something or whatever. But this season, bottom half of the table, losing most weeks. I know we've got overall our record is like 6 wins out of 8 or whatever it is, or 6 wins out of 9. But let's be honest, we've lost a lot of games recently in the league, especially. So it has been pretty depressing.
And the last quick fire: will we win a Europa League or FA Cup this season?
I think I said this today on Paddock off the bar that went out Paddock show. I think we can win the Europa League. I do. You didn't say, can we? You said, will we? I'll say, yeah. I think we can salvage this season. Getting into the Champions League and winning the Europa League would be unbelievable. Now, you look at the teams that are in it, and yes, Spurs can beat us. They've done it 3 times already this season. Yes, someone like a Bilbao, maybe even a Galatasaray or a Lazio could beat us, but they're also beatable.
Yeah.
There isn't that thing this season where the Champions League teams have dropped down, so that makes it slightly easier. And plus, all those teams I've mentioned, have lost matches this season, and some of them have lost lots of matches. These aren't, Real Madrids and Barcelonas and Manchester Cities and teams that you go, oh, you know what? And look at, mention Manchester City. We've beaten Manchester City. We've beaten a good Arsenal team. Yes, we've lost lots of games as well, but that's my point is we are capable. We are capable of winning it. And I think if you get to a position where that is your only chance of salvaging the season, maybe that could be the catalyst to just get us over the line.
And we'll become the first
more hope than expectation
to get relegated and to win the Europa League and end up in it. I wonder how does that work? I don't know. Do you still go into the Champions League whilst you're in the
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Happy
of course
days.
You do. I know you would. We'll be having, Rotherham and 1 week and Real Madrid the next. That'll be amazing.
Yeah, madness. I always love these conversations, Jay. Let me know what's on the horizon for yourself. I know you like doing stuff other than, just football and depressing Manchester United. But any marathons, any stuff coming up? What are you up to?
I'll be honest with you. I've been running more in the gym recently because of the weather and stuff, and I'm a bit of a mad. I've got me and Scotty are doing a new thing on Scotty and Motty. We're doing Sober Fellas, which launches soon. Talking about sobriety. I'm obviously an ambassador for Alcohol Change UK, so a little bit more around that. Working with the Booze Centre, which is a homeless organisation in Manchester, helping them organise something and might get you involved in it. Then we're going to put a football match on at FC United's ground, so get a few people involved in that. And obviously just doing the paddock stuff as well, talking about Manchester United, no matter how depressing it would be. And just watching you guys and watching you go from strength to strength, man. I always enjoy watching you and Sam and your guests. And you know, you've kept up that high level. Sometimes people come in on a podcast and a channel and they come out of blocks and you think, oh wow, decent, and then they lose interest or life kicks in or they can't, you know, they haven't got the same sort of enthusiasm or ability to keep it going. But you guys have kept going and kept the high standards and risen and raised them. So it's been good to see you grow, man. I enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you grow in the years to come.
Well, we only do it because of pillars of the game like yourself and Stretford Paddock. So
you're too kind, you really are.
Thank you. This has been Jay Motty from Stretford Paddock. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Please do smash the like of the video, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you guys in the next one.